Who is Kamala Harris?
Kamala D. Harris is the Vice President of the United States of America. She was elected Vice President after a lifetime of public service. Harris, the daughter of immigrants from Jamaica and India, has had a career with many firsts. She became the country's first Indian American senator when she was inaugurated in 2017. She is California's first female and South Asian Attorney General. She also presided over the unprecedented vote to confirm the first black woman, Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson, to the Supreme Court while working alongside President Biden to achieve historic representation of women and people of color among nominees at all levels of the federal government. In a 2022 post on X, Harris described the day her mother told her that she had cancer was one of the worst days of her life. She was my inspiration and dedicated her life to finding a cure for breast cancer. I will always fight for public funding for cancer research. Too many lives have been cut short. Not long after Vice President Kamala Harris announced her presidential bid, her husband Douglas Emhoff showed his support for her on social media. Time to make history. Kamala Harris. Emhoff wrote in a July 23 Instagram post, sharing a photo of himself smiling and holding up a Harris for President campaign sign. Emhoff and Harris, both 59, met on a blind date in 2013, back when Harris was the Attorney General of California, and they tied the knot the following year. When Harris became the first woman and the first woman of color to be elected vice president in 2020, Emhoff also made history by becoming the nation's first second gentleman. Emhoff, who was a lawyer prior to entering the White House, has been vocal about how he supports his wife, both as her husband and as second gentleman. She's the Vice President of the United States, first woman to ever hold this role, and I'm her husband. So, how can I be a better husband? He told Esquire in January. How can I help her get through her day so she can do her job, which is 24/7's 365. A lot of what she does is public, but a lot of what she does is also very hard work behind the scenes, he continued. So again, it's how can I be helpful to her, make her day easier, take things off her plate around the house, so she can fulfill these intense duties that she has. He was a successful lawyer before becoming second gentleman. Before Harris was elected, Emhoff was a lawyer for about 3 decades. As a partner at the corporate firm Venable, his clients included the pharmaceutical company Merck and the arms dealer DeLorean Capital, according to the New York Times. At Venable, Emhoff also notably represented Taco Bell's former advertising agency in a long-running dispute involving the fast food company's iconic Chihuahua mascot. He became a partner at the leading law firm Law Piper in 2017. In one case at Law Piper, he represented Mauricio Amansky of The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills fame in a real estate dispute, according to the New York Times. Emhoff took a leave of absence from Law Piper when Harris became Biden's running mate, and he left the firm altogether after his wife became vice president, Reuters reported in 2020. Soon after becoming second gentleman, Emhoff began teaching law courses as a distinguished visitor from practice at the Georgetown University Law Center. According to his Georgetown law bio, Emhoff was known throughout his career for tackling and resolving the toughest problems, whether by litigating high-stakes cases or acting as a trusted advisor in complex disputes with an emphasis on media, entertainment, and intellectual property matters. As second gentleman, Emhoff has advocated for equality in the legal system, women's rights, and other causes. In his role as second gentleman, Emhoff has focused on a number of causes, including advocating for access to legal aid and removing barriers legal, social, and financial to ensure that every person can get the help they need to arrive at justice. According to this official White House biography, he has also spoken out about gender equity and reproductive rights. In a recent Instagram post, Emhoff called the Supreme Court's overturning of Roe v. Wade an assault on women's reproductive rights and our democracy. It's wrong, it's immoral, and it's on all of us to stand up and defend our freedoms, he wrote in the caption. Emhoff has also supported LGBTQ+ causes and recently shared Instagram photos of himself marching in the D.C. Pride Parade. Emhoff has traveled widely since becoming second gentleman, meeting with families, business owners, and community leaders around the U.S. and in several countries, according to his White House bio. Speaking to Esquire in January, Emhoff opened up about his dual roles of supporting Harris both as a husband and as second gentleman that can take various forms, whether it's speaking out against anti-Semitism and hate, speaking in favor of gender equity, access to legal justice, and some of the other more substantive areas that I've taken on, he said. Otherwise, it's just doing what's asked, he continued. I'm traveling to Davos tomorrow, for instance, so it's a mixed bag. But it's all geared towards one, supporting her as her husband, and then supporting her and the administration as second gentleman. Emhoff has a special focus on fighting anti-Semitism. Emhoff is the first Jewish spouse of a U.S. vice president or president, and he often speaks out against anti-Semitism and hosts events and discussions related to the topic. No one should have to live in fear because of who they are, he said in a May 2023 address at the White House, as the Biden-Harris administration launched the U.S. national strategy to counter anti-Semitism. As the first Jewish spouse of a United States president or vice president, let me say this: we cannot stay silent, he continued. I will not remain silent. I will not stand idly by and allow anti-Semitism to poison our society. He noted that his great-grandparents had escaped persecution from what is now Poland around 120 years ago, and reflected on the personal significance of traveling to Poland for Holocaust Remembrance Day. Emhoff has hosted numerous events focused on Holocaust remembrance and combating anti-Semitism. In May, he invited college students who are descendants of Holocaust survivors to share their stories at the White House, and later met with Holocaust survivors. Emhoff also shared excerpts on Instagram of his November 2023 meeting with Jewish community leaders in the United Kingdom. Since October 7th, there has been a worldwide increase in anti-Semitic incidents, including in the United Kingdom. I know people are afraid. He captioned his November 2nd post, "My message to Jewish community leaders at home and abroad is this: don't be afraid. We must continue to celebrate our Judaism and push back with joy," he wrote. Emhoff has 2 children from a previous marriage. Emhoff has 2 children, Cole, 29, and Ella, 25, from his previous marriage to film producer Kirsten Emhoff. Annie Mackin Harris opened up in a 2019 essay for Elle about how she and Emhoff have shaped their blended family, saying they took it slow when it came to her meeting his children. As a child of divorce, I knew how hard it could be when your parents start to date other people, Harris wrote, and I was determined not to insert myself in their lives until Doug and I had established we were in this for the long haul. Harris and Emhoff's kids ended up hitting it off, and rather than calling her stepmom, Cole and Ella affectionately refer to her Omala. They are brilliant, talented, funny kids who have grown to be remarkable adults, Harris wrote in her 2019 essay. I was already hooked on Doug, but I believe it was Cole and Ella who reeled me in. Emhoff has shouted out his son and daughter on social media over the years. Nothing like a game of pickleball with Cole during Father's Day weekend. He wrote on Instagram in June. Kamala Harris. Education word university B University of California. Hastings GD, occupation politician, lawyer, author. Kamala Devi Harris Kamel Devi Ka ML Devi. Born October 20th, 1964, is an American politician and attorney who is the 49th and current Vice President of the United States since 2021, under President Joe Biden. She has led the fight for the freedom of women to make decisions about their own bodies, the freedom to live safe from gun violence, the freedom to vote, and the freedom to drink clean water and breathe clean air. Harris's maternal ancestry comes from Tamil Nadu, India. Her achievements include casting the most tie-breaking votes in modern history, championing major legislative initiatives like the American Rescue Plan, and representing the U.S. on key international diplomatic missions. In 1962, Jamaican-born Donald J. Harris and Shyamala Gopalan, who hails from India, met as students at the University of California, Berkeley, and quickly fell in love. Both had arrived as immigrants and went on to forge groundbreaking careers and become leaders in their respective fields. Harris visited the U.S.-Mexico border once in June 2021, where she reiterated her commitment to solving the root problems of migration. In May, she backed a bipartisan border enforcement bill that was blocked in the Senate. When President Joe Biden announced on July 21st that he would be stepping away from his presidential campaign, and hours later endorsed Vice President Kamala Harris for president, Harris was placed in the spotlight. Harris' career has been marked by a string of firsts. She was the first South Asian U.S. Senator, California's first South Asian, first Black, and first female Attorney General. The first South Asian and Black woman elected District Attorney of San Francisco, and the first Black, first South Asian, and first female Vice President. If elected in November, she would be the first woman to serve as President of the United States. Harris was born in 1964 in Oakland, California, to immigrant parents. Kamala is a Sanskrit word meaning lotus, according to her 2019 memoir, The Truths We Told, An American Journey. Her mother, Shyamala Gopalan, was born in Chennai, India. She was a renowned breast cancer researcher who had come to the U.S. at 19 to study. She received her doctorate from the University of California at Berkeley, the same year Harris was born. Shyamala died in 2009. Harris' father, Donald Harris, was born in Jamaica and came to the U.S. to study economics at the University of California at Berkeley. He is a professor emeritus of economics at Stanford University. Harris' parents were deeply involved in the American civil rights movement and, according to her White House biography, brought Harris with them to protests when she was still in a stroller. Harris' parents divorced when she and her sister, Maya, were young. In 1982, Harris enrolled at Howard University, a historically Black university in Washington, D.C., where she majored in political science and economics and pledged the Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority. Harris served 2 terms as San Francisco District Attorney from 2004 to 2010, during which she championed bias training for police and criminal diversion programs for young offenders. In her first 3 years on the job, Harris' conviction rate rose from 52% to 67%. In 2010, she was elected State Attorney General. Along with 40 other attorneys general, Harris reached a $25 billion settlement with the country's 5 largest mortgage companies over their foreclosure practices. In 2014, she married lawyer Doug Emhoff and became stepmother to Emhoff's children, Ellen and Cole. Harris says they call her Kamala. Harris was elected to the U.S. Senate in 2016 and was sworn in 2017, assuming the seat vacated by Senator Barbara Boxer. Serving on the Senate Judiciary Committee and the Select Committee on Intelligence before launching a bid for the White House in 2019. Harris grilled Supreme Court nominee Brett Kavanaugh on abortion during his confirmation hearing in 2018. Harris ran for president in 2020, but dropped out of the Democratic primary. Biden announced that Harris would be his running mate, and the team defeated President Donald Trump and Vice President Mike Pence in the 2020 presidential election in January 2021. Harris was sworn in as the first female vice president of the United States. Harris set a record for the most tie-breaking votes cast by a vice president in the history of the Senate. Her vote helped Democrats pass the American Rescue Plan, legislation that provided $1.9 trillion in stimulus money aimed at helping the economy recover from the fallout of the COVID-19 pandemic. Her vote helped Democrats pass the American Rescue Plan, legislation that provided $1.9 trillion in stimulus money aimed at helping the economy recover from the fallout of the COVID-19 pandemic. As Vice President, Harris has been a steadfast advocate of abortion rights. In December 2023, Harris launched the nationwide Fight for Reproductive Freedoms Tour, holding a series of events to highlight the stories of those affected by abortion bans and restrictions after the U.S. Supreme Court decision that overturned
for the first time
Wade
and said the 5 words that would guide my life's work.
In a moment in time where so many
Kamala Harris
one freedoms
for
are
the
under
people.
attack, Harris said at an event at Howard University
For the first time and said the 5 words that would guide my life's work.